Yeah.
So we are not starting, starting. Dear friends, distinguished speakers who will be speaking today in this webinar, registered participants, good evening to all. This webinar is hosted and conducted by Fipresci India Chapter. Fipresci, Fédération Internationale de la Presse Cinématographique, the International Federation of Film Critics, is an association of national organizations of professional film critics and film journalists from 50 countries around the globe. It was founded on 6th June 1930 at the Academy Palace in Brussels, Belgium. Fipresci has its own jury in more than 80 renowned international film festivals. The India chapter of Fipresci was founded in the year 1992 by Chidananda Dasgupta and Aruna Vasudev. Fipresci-India is organizing a series of webinars with professional film critics, scholars, and experts on various aspects of cinema. This is the first session, and in this, veteran members of Fipresci-India will be discussing the present crisis of the Indian film industry and the role of government. Somebody's mic is on, I think.
Your phone.
The COVID-19 pandemic has had a substantial impact on the film industry. Across the world, and to varying degrees, cinemas and movie theaters have been closed, festivals have been cancelled or postponed, and film releases have been postponed or delayed indefinitely. Film shootings are also suspended globally. India also facing the same situation. Major festivals like Thessaloniki, Beijing, Prague, Vendonville, Istanbul, and lot more had been postponed or cancelled. Many festivals, including Cannes, will be going online. After the invention and wide exhibition through halls, such a complete lockdown of cinema halls had never happened in the last century or this century. This is an unprecedented situation. In a nutshell, we could observe that from directors to independent cinema owners, freelancers to company owners, actors to technical personalities, all kinds of people in the film business are struggling in this time of crisis. The irony is, everyone depended on cinema or cinema-related content to pass the time which they got in excess during the lockdown. All of us watched many old movies, movie scenes, songs, and so on. But the pertinent question is, what are they doing? Thousands and thousands of our friends in film industry and their lives are at stake. 99% of people in this industry are daily wage earners. There will be no problem for some superstars and commercial movie directors. But the other people, I think majority of them are going to starving. Who will bear the responsibility to overcome this crisis? What is the role of both the central and state governments? Cinema industry is contributing crores of rupees to the government through GST. In return, what the government is doing, we will be discussing this issue today. All of our guests who are delivering their presentation are senior film critics and members of Fipresci-India. They have represented our country and our organization in various international festivals. I will introduce one by one. Dr. Madhu Ramangara is a well-known film critic, teacher, and author of many books. He is the recipient of prestigious Swarna Kamal, the National Film Award for the best book on cinema for his work named Malayala Cinemayum Sahityam, Malayala Cinema and Literature. Mr. Madhu Ramangara belongs to Kerala, my state too. He has participated in several film festivals. I would like to formally welcome Dr. Madhu to this webinar.
Thank you.
Mr. Manoj Barjapuri is a senior film critic, poet, and journalist. He is also a recipient of prestigious Swarna Kamal, the National Film Award for the Best Critic of the Year in 2011. He has 12 books to his credit, including 3 titles on cinema, and has been involved in the Film Society movement. I would like to formally welcome Mr. Manoj to this webinar.
Thank you.
Ms. Namrata Joshi is another senior film critic who is based in Mumbai. Previously, she was working for Outlook, and now she is associated with The Hindu. She won the National Film Award for Best Film Critic in 2004. She has covered various film festivals across the world and is a regular writer to whom we are keenly following for elaborative coverage on films and cinema-related happenings. I would like to formally welcome Ms. Namrata Joshi to this webinar. Ms. Shubhra Gupta is a film critic and senior columnist with the Indian Express. There is an interesting statement in the search result on her. She watches world cinema for delectation, Hollywood for fun, and Bollywood for work. She is the author of the famous book 50 Films That Changed Bollywood, 1995 to 2015. I would like to formally welcome Ms. Shubhra Gupta to this webinar. Mr. Vidyashankar is a senior film critic, teacher, and a film society activist. He is the artistic director of BIFAS, Bengaluru International Film Festival, and selects films and organizes the festival in a smooth and beautiful manner without any complaints. He is a former president and secretary of Suchitra Film Society, a reputed cinephile club of Bengaluru founded in 1971. He has also represented our country and FIPRESCI in lot of festivals including Cannes. He has also attended the prestigious international film festivals at Berlin and Venice as a delegate. He recently participated in a colloquium on Russian cinema in St. Petersburg, Russia. I would like to formally welcome Mr. Vidyashankar to this webinar.
Thank you.
I would also like to welcome all the registered participants who are watching and listening this webinar. I also welcome Mr. Premendra Majumdar, Secretary FIPRESCI-India, who is organizing this webinar from behind the scene, and Mr. Debayan, who is assisting as an admin. An open and deep discussion will be happening here today on the subject, the present crisis of the Indian film industry and the role of the government. An expert panel is present here to speak about the subject and its various aspects. I would like to welcome you all once again to this webinar, and I invite Mr. Madhu Ravangara to deliver his views with the audience.
Thank you, Ramanendran. Good evening to all. I think people are those who are registered, they cannot connect. Ramanendran, can you connect it to Webanic to see whether people are not getting it? So in the chat box, it is written that the people are not getting it. Okay. As you all know, we are talking about.
Hello, Debayan, in chat box they are writing that they could not watch.
Is it okay? As you know, we are discussing the topic, the present crisis in the film industry and the role of government to solve this crisis. This is the issue before us. And, you know, as everybody knows, the entertainment industry as such is the most affected, or we can say one of the most affected areas due to this COVID pandemic. You know, the entertainment industry means, you know, the film is there, the other performing arts are there, theater is there, and, you know, all performing arts put together, we call it entertainment industry. But here, in this discussion, we are focusing on film only, because all other entertainment industries are also requiring our kind attention actually in this field. So let us talk about the crisis. You know, how the crisis has arisen. It is mainly, I think it is due to the closing down of all cinema theaters, cinema houses. You know, on March 24, when the lockdown started, almost all the theaters of our nation has closed down. And even I have a very bitter experience, because we were in the midst of a film festival, international film festival in Thrissur, when suddenly the Kerala government asked us to close, even around March 12th. Only after certain days, the national lockdown came. But even then, we had to stop the film festival midway, and you know, there was no way to continue the film festival. So this has happened to all theaters. Suddenly, the theaters were closed down. And you know what happened? This theater means it is a film exhibition center. then means it is connected to the film production. Then it is connected to so many people from light boy to director who is attached to the film industry. And these people suddenly lost their job, suddenly lost their work, and suddenly lost all their income for to run their families. So as a result, what happened? A complete lockdown for film industry along with the other lockdown, and still the state of affairs continues. That's the main problem, because in other areas is gradually it has been opened, but film industry or the entertainment industry, I think government is of the opinion that this entertainment industry is not in essential services. So since it is not in essential services, it is almost neglected. And I think in many cases, Kerala government has, I know from the experience of Kerala government, they have done something, but that is a very small thing compared to, as the moderator was explaining earlier. They are taking a lot of tax from the film industry, from the theater, and from all other aspects of this industry. And now what they are going to return and what they have giving to the film industry, this is the main issue before us. And how the government can support this particular issue. The shooting is stopped, all other film related activities have stopped, and what these people are going to do if this state of affairs continues. I think the only solution is opening of theaters, because there are online releases, people are talking about online releases and so many things. But how far you can support the industry with these online releases, and how far you can support the industry with the support of themselves, which is absolutely impossible at this COVID condition. In this context, we talk about the role of government. Actually, from as I have told you, from the point of Kerala government has advertised in newspapers during this time that Kerala Chalachitra Academy is inviting application from artists who are not receiving any other pension scheme or something, and all other film technicians or whatever, whoever may be there, and they are asked to apply for this one. And of course, it's a meager amount, maybe 2,000 rupees. And this meager 2,000 rupees was a kind of support. It's only a sign of support. It's not an absolute support, but it's a sign of support. They are given like that. But we can't, expect the government to give it continuously forever till the lockdown, till the theater closing down is over. It can be a timely consolation. That's all. So what we have to do is to ask the government to give a lot of things to this film industry, to uplift the film industry. They should see that entertainment industry is part of this country. It is generating a lot of revenue, and this revenue is there, and they have to do something. Of course, the government can give subsidy to the people, to the producers, to the production. Like we asked earlier, we have the NFTC. NFTC was supporting the producers or the script writers or the directors. So I think these type of things have to be very, very, very widely done in this particular pandemic time. And another thing is to, anyway, the most important thing is the opening of theater itself. Without opening theater, this problem cannot be solved forever. And also we have to see that we cannot close down the theaters forever. We are living with COVID. So all other essential services is running properly, at least with the COVID protocol. I think my earnest opinion is that government should think of gradually opening the theaters. Maybe not all the theaters, maybe some theaters having good facilities to adopt corona protocol. For example, suppose there are 500 seats in a particular theater, and they may allow even 250 people to enter into the theater with a prior reservation. So likewise, we can gradually open the theater step by step, and then we can solve this particular issue of the crisis, this issue that arising from this particular crisis to some extent. So I think Ramachandran, my 5 minutes are over.
Okay, thank you, Madhu.
If 5 minutes are over, then I will switch on to the next speaker.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Madhu. Now, Manoj Borjapuri has some internet problem. I think he will join. So, I would like to welcome Miss Miss Namrata Joshi to deliver her views with the audience.
Hi, everyone. This discussion around the film industry is something one has been having constantly in the past 3 months since the situation has become what it is. And the thing that, it's a constant conversation with the affected party, which is the film industry itself. And some things which I've gathered from it is when we talk of the losses, according to a report given by Omax India, when it comes to the losses through theaters itself, in the first 3 months itself, the losses have been close to 2,500 crore gross, and 45 to 50% of it losses have been borne by the Hindi commercial film industry. And in the next 2-3 months, with the theaters likely to be closed, the losses are supposed to mount to some 5,000 crore. However, when one talks to the film industry, I think, and this has been a constant conversation with everyone, the state dependence, I think, doesn't feature as highly, as a proactive measure which the industry itself needs to take. Because state involvement in cinema, any which way over the past so many years, has come to zero. And if we look at how the COVID situation itself has been tackled by the various governments, apart from a few state governments who've taken the lead, I don't see the government coming ahead and participating much in tackling COVID-19 itself either. So where does film industry come into the picture? I mean, it's the bottom half of the priority here. And as I was talking to Mr. Ajit Andhare, who's a CEO of the Viacom 18 Studios, he said it is a soft power which the government keeps positing. You go to Cannes and you get told that, Hindi film industry, Tamil film industry, Malayalam film industry, this is our soft power. But when it comes to the priority right now, it's obviously very low in the priority, because you're not able to figure out the migrants issue. You're not able to tackle China. You're not able to deal with the number of deaths of COVID patients. You're not able to tackle where to bury them. Where does cinema come into the scene? I'm quoting Ajit Andhare directly when I did a long interview with him on Instagram on it. He said, right now we are dealing with a nation that is struggling to feed a bulk of its citizens. So where does cinema figure here? Having said that, I think the Hindi film industry, because of the nature, it is a commercial film industry, it has to get cracking, has been making representations of its own. And they have taken a lead in being proactive, which is what I think should be the way ahead. We can't just sit, on the chairs and say, oh, come state, help us. It's not going to happen. It's definitely not going to happen. The backbenchers have to stand up and take a stand. Otherwise, it's going to be the same way. You're going to be in a long line and you're never going to get ahead and find a due response from the government for yourself. So what I gathered from people here is that they are very, very proactive. They are making representations. Last I spoke to Andhare, he said Rajmouli, Chiranjeevi, all the actors who have access to the government have been asked to make representations. Every association, be it the Producers Association, be it the CINTA, which is the Television Actors Association, they are coming together to help the people who are the daily wagers. They are coming together to put together, the what we call the SOP, the standard operating procedures to kick in the shooting as soon as possible. The guidelines for opening up of theaters, the Multiplex Owners Association has come up with, along with the FICCI. And the only way ahead, people are saying opening up the content bit by bit, because television industry has taken one of the biggest hits, and they are saying that I think there is some disturbance. Is there an echo?
Yeah, the sound is the problem is everywhere.
Yeah. So I personally think that the industry has to organize itself. The industry has to come together and kind of start rolling the way they can. Because saying that there is a lot of content stuff, but even if you open the theater, the shoot is not happening, where do you get the content to start streaming in the days to come? And if you're going to show the old film, I doubt if people are going to risk their lives to go and watch old films. So my submission is that it's just not the question of the state; it's a question of the industry itself becoming proactive and taking a active interest in furthering its own interests. Thank you.
Thank you, Namrata, for your presentation. Now Manoj is back. So Manoj, can you hear?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah. Then I now invite Mr. Manoj Pujari to deliver his views with the audience.
Excuse me, can you put your phone a little distance ahead? Don't put the mobile near you.
Yeah. It's away from me now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So let's start now.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ramasandran, for inviting me to call. Anyway, I have heard what you spoke, and also Namrata and Madhu also. The topic is, as far as it is concerned, with the role of the government. I think that it is futile to expect something better to be done from the side of the government, because the government has failed in every field in this COVID-19 situation. Whether it is the killing millions, in comparison to killing millions and other people from all around, it is very um, disheartening to note that the government has failed to respond to the what actually the senior workers, technicians, artists actually want in this situation. So it is we are yet to get a person like, say, the France president, or say the prime minister of New Zealand, who have already declared so many packages for senior artists and technicians and other artists from and workers from all other field of cultural activity. But here it is missing. In Assam, it is also not coming up in any way. I find that some organizations representing in artists and technicians, say in West Bengal or in Tamil Nadu or even in Manipur, my neighboring state, they are trying to put something to the government and requesting the government to do whatever they can do for the uh, film workers and technicians. But here in Assam, there are so many organizations, say the Senior Technicians Association, Publishers Associations, Artist Associations, but they have not approached the government to do something for the film workers and technicians. So that is the problem. Only one organization called Film Fraternity Assam, they have distributed some groceries to the workers who have lost their job, lost their livelihood. I mean the film workers and technicians. But other from that, there is nothing coming up. I happen to talk to a few senior filmmakers on the state in recent, say in about 1 or 2 weeks ago. One of them said that it is so sad to note that there is nothing coming up from the government side, and and he used to tell that the people will sometimes lose their um, tolerance about everything. So in this situation, what we can do as a writer and journalist, we can request the government to do something, but that is not coming up. So that is the problem. And in Mumbai, even the Maharashtra government has allowed to allow some shooting of films, shooting of TV serials and web series also. In Assam, this is not happening anymore. In last 28 May, there is a notification in Manipur. Manipur state film policy was declared. And in Assam, a state film policy was declared last year. But these are not coming up, these are not translated to reality. And there, the problem lies there. So how can you proceed? How can we move forward? If you compare the both policies from Manipur and Assam, the neighboring states, we find that though there is some lagging in Manipur state film policy, and it is more clear and objective in the film policies of Assam. Still, the film policies of Assam has not at all concerned about the film literature and film society. Whether in Manipur, they are concerned a little bit about film literature. They are talking about film studies, and they are talking about instituting film fellowships to go forward for film studies at least. And they're trying their best to connect to the film society to establish a network to go forward with film plans and film culture to develop a film culture for the interest of growth of film culture as a whole. So this is not coming up in our state. But here it is a marginal film industry. In Assam, we cannot call it an industry at all. Whereas in Manipur, there are less films being made in a year in comparison to Assam. In Assam, in last year, there are only 17 or maybe 15, 16 films were released. In 2017, there were 24 films. In 2022, there were 22 films. And last year, it is reduced to 14, 15 films like that. In Manipur, there are still less numbers of films being released a year. So this is a kind of marginal film industry, if it at all should be called an industry. But the film policy of Manipur has recognized the industrial capacity and industrial future of filmmaking in their state. So their film policy has talked about giving a status to filmmaking in Manipur, to the status of industry. But Assam, in film policy, they are not at all interested to be in industry status. So this is the thing going on right now, and I'm as a personal, as an individual basis, I am not expecting anything from the government at this situation. So this is the state we are living in, and we are looking forward to whatever can be achieved from any step forward being made by the government, whether it is in central or in state. So here it is, whatever I can tell right at this moment. Thank you, Mr.
So thank you, Manoj. Thank you, Manoj, and for the speech. Now I invite Ms. Shubhra Gupta to deliver her views to this webinar.
Hello, everyone. I've just been listening to everybody for the last 15 minutes. I'm getting a lot of echo back in. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, Shubhra, but there is an echo. It's for everyone, I think,
Yeah, I think there is a.
But we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. Is this better now?
Yeah,
okay. Okay. So, there are 2 or 3 ways to look at this issue that we are talking about today. One is on the policy level itself. When you look at the government's policy, which governs cinema or govern the entertainment industry, it is still in the dark ages in terms of the fact that when they look at entertainment tax as a component of a ticket, a lot of that money goes straight to the government. The theaters don't really get as much. Um, a long-time distributor exhibitor had told me that out of the 10 rupees that you get on a ticket, the theater will get only a minor percentage. A lot of that goes straight to the government. So it's in the British era that the whole business about money coming from the entertainment industry going into the coffers of the government was created in the when the British were in power. And once the in when the film became something that the central government was taking a great deal of interest in, it was more in terms of creating a whole worldview of the country that they were looking at, a nationalistic point of view. How to look at India. That was in many little principalities in bits and pieces. How do you create an India, the idea of India? That is what the Indian film industry was taxed to do, was asked to do by the government of the day back in the 50s and the 60s. And after that, when the mainstream cinema in all parts of the country became this powerful entity where a lot of money was changing hands by the people who were making it and from the people that they were catering to, it became transactional. I haven't really seen in all my dealings with people who in the government who look at cinema as a whole. They are mostly looking at it as a knee-jerk problem-solving thing. Oh, there is a problem with the censorship. Okay, let's solve this. There is a problem with this kind of thing issue. Let's solve this. But there is really no concerted effort at looking at the entertainment industry as something which is giving all the time to the people like us who we are all people who are watching it. We watch it for work, but everybody in this country watches cinema. Everybody in this country is looking at television. A lot of it is given to, but not enough comes back to them. But it's also a question of not being able to represent that fact really well. It's mostly like all the big industry, like all big industries, the big production houses are making all the money. The rest of the people are really not. They're struggling. And right now in the COVID situation, we can see that really coming home to roost, because the big guys really have all the money. The small people who are, who work on daily wage, as daily wagers, or people who are on contract, or people who have, they work on project to project basis, they really have no security. So in my view, to ask the government right now, which is struggling with a pandemic of a proportion that nobody's ever seen before. This is something nobody has any experience of. People are talking about, the Bengal famine. They're talking about, the other. There have been, there have been other sort of pandemics before, but nothing that has ever come to this, where the helplessness in the last 3 months that we've seen around the world is now sort of coming. It has come home. And we have no idea, the government has no idea, it's struggling. So as Namrata just said, it is actually a thing about what do you prioritize? Do you have the numbers of beds? Do you have ventilators? Do you have people that you have to keep alive? Do you have testing, or do you have cinema? So which is what, even when you see when the lockdown has started to open, in the opening also, what we are seeing is really markets opening up. We are seeing factories opening up. We are seeing essential services opening up. We are not going to see any theaters open up till the last minute, where we will have a vaccine or the provision that if I fall sick, if I go to a cinema hall, and if I develop COVID-like symptoms, I should have a hospital to go to. Right now, as we all know that this situation is so terrible that nobody's even if theaters start to open in my this thing, I don't think people are going to step out and go into movie halls. In the UK, there was this whole talk about Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet, which was supposed to release in a couple of weeks from now, but Warner Brothers has dialed back on that, because really no one is going to be able to take that risk. So in terms of whether opening up is the answer, I'm not so sure. I think we're going to have, I think we're in this for the long haul. And I think it's not the government's lien right now to actually be focusing on cinema and, the ancillary things that are around it. I think there's a lot more going on in terms of, what they need to be focusing on. There is the national security thing. There is the COVID thing. There is like everything. There is the whole thing about identity, religious problems. The country right now is a tinderbox, and cinema really, literally, is at the last, as far as on the totem pole. I think it comes really low. So I think that really the way forward is for all the stakeholders to come together and not really look at it as a cinema of Bombay, or like Hindi film industry, or the Tamil film industry, the Telugu industry, because all these industries in itself are very powerful entities. I think now the time has come to everyone to get together. The stakeholders who have a voice and who have access to both the people who are at the center and in the state, and to see how things can be managed, especially as far as the people who are concerned who have no money, or who are running out of living resources. So I think that really is the way to go forward, where you have industry looking, saying that, okay, here is a problem, everyone recognizes that, but the answer is not the government. I don't think the government is in any position right now to look at cinema and give it the kind of importance that it actually needs, because conversely, it is people like us who are talking about this, and there are people like us who are sitting and watching movies on our home devices. Cinema and entertainment and television is keeping us alive in a manner of speaking. So it's a double-edged sword. Yes, it does need the government support. The government is involved in, and as it should be, rightly so, is it looking at keeping us alive. So what is left is the industry to come together to see what the stakeholders have to say, because they really have the inside view on how everything can come together, and maybe a way can be formed, a way can be forged, and maybe, who knows, with the kind of conversations that all these industries which have always worked in different silos up till now, if there can be some conversations which are together, which brings everybody on a platform, who knows where we'll go with this.
Thank you, Shubhra. Now I invite Mr. Vidyashankar to deliver his views. Vidyaji, please start.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. First, the facts, all of you have already said, we are in a very extraordinary situation today. All over the world, we are in a very extraordinary situation. Now, in this extraordinary situation, all the human activities have been affected. I mean, Namrata and Shubhra have already pointed out these things. All human activities have been affected. When all human activities have affected, then everybody starts prioritizing what should be attended to first. And obviously, the government, as Shubhra and Namrata and all of you have expressed, the question is that, is cinema the kind of priority, what kind of priority that cinema has to be given? And obviously, all of us know that it's definitely not only cinema, I mean, I would say culture at large. All cultural activities have been affected by this. Like, look at publishing industry, look at everything, every activity, human activity, other than essential things. Now, what is essential? Is it about the physical existence or the psychological and mental requirements? What we are talking about is psychological, mental equipments of the people, which normally doesn't get the priority even otherwise. Even in normal conditions, we don't look at any of these activities as some kind of an essential activity. Obviously, in these extraordinary times, this is not going to get the kind of support it is going to get. Now, look at the other side also. What are the expectations in this situation? The people itself, leave alone the government, we'll come to the government a little later. What are the expectations that generally people are doing? They sit at home, they watch films, they read, they do a lot of activities which are culturally required for them to hold their mental stability. They do that. But their expectations as far as the cinema is concerned is that, it is only a consumption role, not look at what happens when this film is made. They actually do not know actually what they would really support even a government. If government spends something on cinema at the cost of the infrastructure, like health infrastructure or any other issues, like Namrata pointed out. All other activities, people will be looking at what government can do rather than what government can do for cinema. Therefore, the first thing itself is the reality, the expectations itself is not there. But we know, as people who are involved with that it also involves, there's a human element in all this. There are a lot of people who are suffering because of that. There are a lot of things that's happening in cinema. How do we make this in a different way? All governments, all states have this twin role of one is the welfare role and also a governance and regulation roles are there. Now, when it comes to regulation and governance, government has a different view to cinema. When it comes to welfare issues, they think that cinema is not under that welfare issue. Cinema is not one of the domains in which government would enter as a welfare state. Obviously, this is a problem, this is a paradox in which we know that hundreds and thousands of people are involved in this. There need to be a welfare measures that government has to take. You see, look at the kind of various departments in government. I recently had to talk with the government on this. Nearly 7 departments in government of Karnataka are involved in cinema activities, including the ITBT department, the labor department, the information and broadcasting department, the culture department. Therefore, there are different departments which are handling the issues that are concerned with cinema. Therefore, even before any of these issues, that extraordinary situation, there's always a problem with cinema being handled. Policy is something, in fact, even if you look at the tourism department is one other stakeholder in cinema issues. For all these departments work separately without, looking at cinema as a single entity. For some of them it is an industry, for some of them it's culture, for some of them it's an artistic expression. Therefore, there is no coordination. They don't understand that all these activities are thousands of people behind them. Now, how does that government come into act in this situation as a welfare state to support these people? What I see, at least in my areas, is that there are two institutional and support that was tried in the beginning itself. There are film chambers of commerce is there. Karnataka Film Chamber of Commerce is there. Karnataka is a huge organized film industry in the sense that they have a producers association, they have a directors association, they have an artist association, they have a film technicians and workers association. Therefore, they have a very well organized group of people. And most of these groupers have taken on themselves actually. And initially, as Shubhra also pointed out, others pointed out, they did try to give them some kind of a financial support to their members. They knew who are in need of support, and they try to raise some money funds, even sometimes through the government help and otherwise also, and distributed some money amongst all those people. There is a Karnataka Chalchitra Academy, like in Kerala Chalchitra Academy. That academy also used some big corporate sponsors to get some benefit, some cash, and distribute it among its, the people who are in dire need of that. But this cannot go on, because this is already 3 months now. This cannot continue. But as I said, people's expectations are that they will not go to the cinema halls now anyway. But what should be done is the other side. The supply side only has to be looked into, not at the other side. Now, supply side, how do we make it? Now, industry has a very big political position also, even in Karnataka, like in the central government also. There are a lot of people who are members of the Legislative Assembly, there are members of the Legislative Council who are involved. Even the former Karnataka Chief Minister, film producer himself. Therefore, what they are trying to support is that, through the academy, through the other organized sector, to bring pressure on the government. How do we start this supply side, the production side? How do we get into that? Because opening of theaters is not an option now for any government, for anywhere in the world. It is not an option. Therefore, at least the production should take up. As some of you know, most of these OTT platforms are open. In fact, they are looking for a lot of content. Most of the OTT platforms, because now the new cinema content is not coming as much. Therefore, there is a lot of demand for content. Visual contents are there. Therefore, the production has to start now. For the production to start, what we need is that, as we call, protocols have to be followed. Now, I think Karnataka, they have started with television. Television industry is slowly picking up. They have started doing giving new episodes of television serials. Now, the next stage will be that. Therefore, I have seen a lot of politically powerful film people have started approaching the government to open up the industry slowly. And it is, I see the signs of opening it slowly. I heard recently that there's one big Kannada film has started putting up a set in Hyderabad actually, because Annapurna Studios is in Telangana. I think they're opening it earlier than the other places. Therefore, they are started this kind of a movement towards restoring the production, the supply side of it. The exhibition side now it has to be taken care of by the OTT platforms. Therefore, these are the production side has to start the work, and there has been a concerted pressure by these organizations, at least what I see locally, and also individuals who are very politically powerful, to request the government to start some kind of an activity. You can't start the activity fully because the COVID is also becoming a very big issue, threat, and is growing. Still it is growing. Therefore, it is not possible to take any very sudden action now to just open up the whole industry itself. Therefore, there are concerted efforts going on. Government can only do that. Whatever the welfare or charity kind of thing is not going to help the industry in any way. It will be very short-term solution only. Like any other activity, government cannot give money, go on giving the money. Because all of us are talking about the taxes. Look at the taxes. What is the government's position today? In fact, only essential services are there. Government gets a very minimal tax collections are there. Only unless a non-essential item, the maximum tax comes to the government through indirect taxes is only through the non-essential items. Therefore, all governments are virtually bankrupt now. They have in fact taking out all the money in all other departments which are considered non-essentials and working on that. But there is a government side also to look into it. Since the very big taxpayer, that doesn't mean that government doesn't store the money to that taxpayer only. It always spends it in that particular period. Therefore, they don't have that kind of financial bandwidth to support the industry in a big way, or even giving, all the, like particularly Karnataka government gives a lot of subsidies also only for the completed films. They can consider giving it in advance, but that is another issue they can open up. But there are concerted efforts going on. I don't know how far this can really help, but unless we start the production, unless we start the supply side of it, all the other things, because cinema theaters, of course, even in New York, I remember New York Times had a story as early as in March itself, which all the theater owners went to the government to ask for a bailout of this, but that has not happened even in US also. It's very difficult to support the exhibition side at this time. If you open up production side, it will help hundreds and thousands of people who are involved. That will happen. And what I see locally is that there are that kind of movement is there. People are going into that. All the people who are involved in film industry are going into the government almost on a regular basis. I see them meeting the chief minister, asking them to open up. And now there is opening up is slowly happening. And I wish it happens a little more. And of course, with all the constraints of the COVID, this one is that we need to take that also into account, because that is the more priority. That's the only priority all the governments across the world have. The only priority. All the other things can happen in a slowly paced manner. But it's an extraordinary time. Extraordinary suffering is happening everywhere, and film people are also part of it. And there's an extraordinary suffering which we should acknowledge and recognize it and share with people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vidyaji. Now the first round is over. A lot of questions are coming through both the YouTube and also in this webinar. So two of the participants, Namrata, please unmute your mic, and Madhu also, please unmute. I will now read some questions and I will ask. One is from Michael Vishwamitra. The crisis of the film industry is majorly about outdoor shooting and theatrical release. Huge amounts are already invested on films stuck in the middle of the production and those waiting to be released. The films to be start can wait, or there are beautiful options. I think Namrata Joshi will answer or react to this.
See, outdoor shooting. See, the way I have spoken to the film industry people, they have drawn out a clear plan of action and how the systems have to be put in place. The first to start off on this journey are the ad filmmakers, and these are conditions which can be controlled. Each filmmaker has a different role of making films. Some may want, a crew of 5 people. Another may want a crew of 20 people. So it's not so easy to say that, okay, come on, let's start shooting. You know, they have laid out a system of operations called SOP, which details as to how you go about it, right from setting up, stations to with sanitizers to having a nurse on call. Uh, and much of it has come from the Producers Association, which the Maharashtra state government has furthered. Then there is a question that the producers council said that there should be an ambulance on call at every film shoot, and some of the people shot back saying that in a day in Bombay there is a situation where 70 film shootings are happening simultaneously. There are not enough ambulances to ferry people to the hospitals. How can you have one at every film shoot? So I think it's a little naive to think that, okay, let's start shooting. It's not going to happen that way. It will have to happen in a step by step way. Ad films have already started shooting. Film TV series have started shooting. I was reading a piece today in which an actor talks about how difficult it is to work in the new scenario, where he's washing his teacups himself, he's applying makeup himself. It's not so easy to think that, okay, let's open up, let's go and watch a film in the theater near us. It's a serious situation and it's not going to happen overnight. I think somewhere that patience needs to be exercised and we must look ahead at it as a step-by-step exercise. It has started rolling. There will be a move ahead, and God forbid there can be a move back as well, because who knows how the shooting, how many people are coming together. See, that's the thing about a film shoot. A film shoot involves a lot of crew members who are not just involved in one particular film, but they could be hopping from one film shoot to another. And what so many people get interacting, the chances of the spread of a disease like COVID-19 becomes that much more problematic. So, people have thought it through. If you read the charter that the Producers Council has come up with, it looks at every possible scenario, and it stresses the fact that filmmaking is not a manufacturing industry. It is not about a product. It is about coming together of creative energies, creative people, and a certain sense of passion, which would mean that it will kick off a lot later. And I think the same thing about the theatrical releases also. I mean, if you ask me today, I'm not going to go and watch a film in the theater in the next so many weeks to come, and it also depends on which place you're talking about. Kerala may have tackled it much better, but then Kerala is an exception. And even in Kerala now, with people coming from the foreign land back, situation is becoming problematic, In all of this, to think that, oh, let's go to the film theaters, everyone is treading on it with a lot of caution, and you certainly can't throw caution to the winds at this juncture. That's what I think.
Thank you, Namrata. Before going to next question, I have an announcement. There is Fipresci-India is a magazine, magazine Fipresci-India is publishing. The next issue, that is April, May, June 2020. This next issue will be released, uploaded just after this session. So everybody should read it. Now I'm going to next question. Some statements.
Can I just interrupt for a minute? There is someone who said that when everyone's audio is on, it becomes a problem. So only the person who's speaking should put it on. I think interfering.
They must unmute. Previously, I muted them, but I could not unmute them. Please keep away the mobile phones from the screens also. So there are some statements. I will read it. Alphonse Roy. How can the cinema halls with numbers increasing every day? There is such question. Then next question is Abhirup Sen. What if giving more importance to single screens? Yes, because 250 people per hall in a multiplex may lead to a lot of hassle. Plus the single screen might get a boost. I think Shubhra Gupta will react to this question about these theaters and single screen and multiplex problem.
I think that it doesn't really matter whether it is a single screen or a multiplex, because a screen is a screen. Right at this moment, particularly, a screen is a screen, and because there is no content to be put over there, I think it doesn't matter whether you're a single screen or you are a multiplex which has 200 seaters or a 500 seaters. It is an unprecedented situation. No one is going to be stepping out of the house unless absolutely necessary. And I think of going to a movie is going to be at the bottom of everyone's priorities. Like I was telling someone, in our lives, people like us who watch movies for work, the difference is now that we used to go to a movie. All of us used to go to a movie, and then we would come back from it and would leave the film there. Now we have film. We are surrounded by cinema. We are surrounded by entertainment. We are surrounded. We are watching literally 24/7. I think most of us have stopped sleeping because we're only watching and writing and watching. Some of us are watching and writing constantly. So I think I think what right now needs to happen, in my view, is to batten down on your hatches, and to this knee-jerk reaction of everybody who has any kind of thought on this subject is talking about it as if they own the single screen or they own the multiplex. It's not about multiplexes or single screens. I think it's now about all screens. It's about all cinemas. And I also think that, as you were saying, production, yes, I think, yes, there is a certain kind of pressure upon production to start, but there is also the whole other business about becoming a community spread, even in your 70 people who are on that set, because your people over 50 are not going to be allowed on that set. What kind of changes will people have to make in their own scripts to be able to shoot? Intimate scenes are not going to be able to be shot. What is going to happen to people who are couples or rom-coms where there is necessarily going to be no social distancing? So I think it's not going to be as simple as just like do a little click and say, okay, here we go, and everything will come right. I think, as Namrata was saying, it's going to be a slow process. Yes, we do need to start things, just like we need to start opening up lockdowns, because people need to go out to be able to spend a little, to get some money, so that the economy starts to flow. We understand the importance of all of that, because everything is hurting, everyone's hurting, and literally there has been no cash flow in any sector of the society in the last 3 months. So unless it starts from somewhere, it has to get kick-started. But I think it's going to also be a thing about keeping, like, you have to keep balancing. Do we do this? If we do this, these are the risks. And so are we in a position to take that risk? Yes, we are, because we have younger audience. But right now, there was a time when people were thinking that COVID only actually impacted people who were older or people who were very young. But now all of those myths are busted. We have 17 and 18-year-olds who are succumbing to this. And I think what all of us are really concerned about is to sort of go to sleep and pray that we get up the next morning without any infection. So literally, I think that is literally the only thing that everyone's thinking about. And in a broader spectrum, of course, we are looking at cinema. Of course, we are looking at entertainment. Of course, we are looking at the cultural aspects of our lives, which enrich our lives and make us human. So I think it's going to be always, we are going to be like right now, it's like a pendulum, which goes up, what goes down. Everyone has to keep weighing those scales all the time.
Thank you, Shubhra. Now I will. Two questions are there. One is Indrila Hazare. We really looking at theaters or alternate platforms need to be explored. Another one is from KL Prasad. With some speaker, will some speaker takes up the OTT topic? I now request Mr. Madhu Ravangara to respond to these two questions. The alternate platforms. Please unmute, Madhu. Please unmute. Sir.
Is it okay now?
Yeah. This OTT platform and other alternatives.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. In fact, I was also trying to talk about that. You see, I'm talking from Kerala experience. In Kerala, actually, there is a producers association, and this producers association actually banned other people, some of the independent producers, to release their films on the OTT platforms. So naturally, what happened? These people, the independent producers, are not allowed to release their films through OTT platform, because they say that only through theater release they can get the money back. It is true with regard to the big budget films, but the films that are produced in a low budget, or the films that are produced in a very strict financial conditions, no, they have to get their money back. And these OTT platforms are a very good opportunity for them to release their films. So in this connection, I need the governmental intervention. So the government has to intervene. They have to enter into a discussion with the producers association, or the distributors association, or the artist association, or technicians association. So we have all these associations in this world. So they have to discuss with these organizations, and then arrive at a conclusion, or make some formulations, some policies. So government has to make some policy that anybody can release the films according to their wish on online platform. Nobody can ban them. Nobody can say that you are not allowed to release this film in this OTT platforms. So we have Netflix, we have Hotstar, and we have Prime Video, and all these OTT platforms are there. So we have to utilize these OTT platforms to compensate the loss that is happening in the film industry to some extent. I'm not talking about you can save all the funding from this patent. You cannot, but to some extent we can save ourselves through this release of OTT platforms. So it's a very good platforms. We have now, it is available, and we have to use it. And for that I need the government to intervene in it and make some policy formulations so that they can do it. And also the government, in Kerala, they have already started production, and some of the film producers have already started shooting also. And again, the Producers Association has appeared that you are not going to start any new film. So how can they say like that? So government has to do something to curb these issues, and that is only through discussions and getting at a government policy. Okay, anybody can shoot at their own site, because these people, especially independent producers, and they are shooting maybe with stringent financial conditions. So even then, they are allowed to. They have to shoot them. And then as somebody was telling earlier, the production has to go on. And when the production has to go on, it has to get released also. Of course, the theater release, I'm not talking about theater release that is happening very soon, but we can do it step by step in future. No doubt, we have to. But in between, the OTT platforms should be completely utilized, and government must support the producers or the organizations to to make a ban on their what you call fatwa. They are making fatwas. It's exactly happening in Kerala. The Producers Association, they are making fatwas. Okay, don't do this. You are not allowed to shoot. And how can one say that you are not allowed to shoot? And similarly, you are not going to release in the OTT platform. You are not expected to do it. Anybody can do it. So government has to make some policy formulations to make all these things possible. That is what I think I had to answer for these particular questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. My next question, it is by Diganda De. Why NFDC as an organization is dying day by day, where it gave us many outstanding talents and movies? I think Vidyasankar will respond to this question. About NFDC.
I would rather respond to whatever the earlier discussion we had on that.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that OTT platform, actually there are as many as 21 OTT platforms in India operating, and it is possible that you can do it. The only thing is, as Shubhra pointed out, there's a very serious cash flow problem there also. I know a couple of filmmakers who have given their films to these OTT platforms, and they're not really getting the money now at this point. They say we will give it to you later. This is a problem which is beyond the film industry itself. This is a problem is there, and this NFDC issue is not actually within the purview of our discussion here. There is a different organizational issue that government is actually looking at. There is already a report in the Government of India which is thinking of bringing all these 3 or 4 government organizations into one single unit and looking at in a different perspective. For NFDC at this point of time, I don't think it will come into the picture at all, because NFDC is now in a very different functionalities now. And that functionality is also being changed shortly, with the central government having a report, Julka committee report, which has already submitted its report. Therefore, the question now is about the production, the distribution, and the exhibition. The production and exhibition that we have discussed now. The OTT platforms are the only available platform now for people to release films, and there are a number of them. But even there, we have a problem. Even though they need content, most of these even OTT platforms are not really able to buy and give films. They themselves are in the production also. Most of these OTT platforms are also in the production line now. There's a lot of money they have sunk into that. And there is an issue there also. And other thing, what Madhu is expecting, that government should intervene. Government cannot intervene, because these are extra legal. This one they cannot enter into. And they can't give advice to, like, Producers Association have no legal rights to compel anybody to do this or that. Legally it is not feasible. Therefore, when they're saying something like that, it's the people who want to do or not do, they can have to directly tackle that. Government cannot intervene and ask these people that you have to follow Producer Association dictats, or you don't have to follow. It's not the government's business to do that. Therefore, they themselves have to realize these things. We have seen even in all organizational issues, even in other states also. Sometimes they, like, the dubbing issue is there. All the, like, whether it should, Hollywood, they had the issue whether the film that are released on OTT should be considered for Oscar awards or not. These issues are in the dialogue process only, because these are the new technologies that are coming into the picture. But government cannot intervene in such issues. That I can, as a legal resource, we can say that they can only frame policies whether film, because it's an industry. This has the legal framework within that they work. If somebody is saying for reasons which is beyond this legal format, government will not intervene and talk about it.
Thank you, Vidyashankar. One of the other next question is about OTT. It already been answered. Then why no states are forwarding to fund again Diganda Day? Why no states are forwarding to fund assist to increase single screen, where large number of audience are going there, mostly in small town and villages? So it's a new question, I think. Manoj Pujari will respond, I think. Please, Manoj.
Repeat the question again.
Yeah, the question is why no states are forwarding to fund or assist to increase single screens, where large number of audience are going there, mostly in small town and villages. So I hope Assam is a lot of small villages, so that are not affected due to this. Cities are affected to COVID pandemic, so the cinema can go on to the touring or other ways. What is your opinion about the rural life and cinema? Any experience?
COVID-19 situation, mostly the urban people are suffering. The village people are not suffering at all, or maybe in a very minimal way. They are suffering in the situation. So the question about the possibility of small screens in village or rural areas, it is viable option to screen films in the situation even, but with minimum guidelines of social distancing and other things involved. So, but in Assam, there are so less number of screens available in rural area. Not a single rural area actually covered by big screens, let alone multiplexes and other things. There were talks about establishing mini cinema halls in Assam for last 20 years, but it is not coming up. It is not coming to reality. And actually, people who are talking about mini cinema halls, even government is recognizing the necessity of establishing mini cinema halls in Assam in every panchayat rural areas. But there are different opinions regarding mini cinema halls. Some people are against establishing mini cinema halls because they are afraid of the traditional uh, value systems being affected by cinema screening and all. But that is not the question here. At this moment, at this time, people are accepting, people are getting lots of platforms to see on their home even. So, having seen all these things from whether it is from country or from outside, whether it's not affected at all by cinema or cinema literature or cinema films and all. So this is a viability. There is viable option to make the rural people and the cinema lovers to avail of the opportunity of seeing films at the theater. But with into, take into consideration the available situation evolving in this COVID-19 situation, we have to follow the guidelines. So that is my answer to the question. Thank you.
I have one information to add.
I also
Yeah.
want to.
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
So, as far as the small town single screens are concerned, what we forget when we are talking about just the number, we forget that the condition of those theaters is so abysmal. It has, it is not in a condition where you can actually even watch movies, and the digital, the, a lot of them are still not digitized. So much of our cinema now is shot on digital technology that they are not, sort of, they don't have the capacities to show films which are digitally shot. So I think in very many ways there is a real lack of good theaters in small towns to be able to show films. It's one thing to say that why don't you, why in smaller places there is no COVID, so let's get people in. People, whether now they live in small towns or a smaller villages, all want good quality cinema because they know what they are watching, because they are aware of what is happening around them. They don't want to go to a dilapidated cinema which has, the seats are broken, and the cinema halls are basically not in any position to be able to show films. So where do you then how does the question of even filling those theaters come in? Also, when there are no films to be had, what are they going to be watching? Are they going to be just circulating older films? And even for that, you need to have physical transport in place where they can get the film, they can actually show the film. I think it's not as easy as to say that okay, let's have a small town, small theater there, and let's fill it up with people, because there are these problems as far as infrastructure, technology, and people. It's a cultural construct that everyone wants to watch a good film in a good place. So where are we at that right now? Yeah. Please go ahead.
Thank
Two
you,
information I
Vijay
want to add. It's an information I'm going to give you on
Yeah.
this. One is that Karnataka government has a proposal to construct Janta cinema halls. They've in fact announced it. The government has put some budgetary provisions also, but so far not many people have come forward to use that. They're going to use subsidies, quite a large amount of subsidies to create these small halls. They said about 300 Janta halls could be constructed across Karnataka for this one. That is one information. The other information what Shubhra talked about is the quality. As a film festival director, even I have problems with single theaters, even in a city like Bangalore. The technology issues are very severe sometimes, because these days we are getting films, sometimes even we don't get even DCPs anymore. We are getting on files, it is being transmitted directly onto the screens. And we have some technical issues. The acoustics issues are the problems, and of course, that is apart. But generally, Karnataka has this provision to have a proposal by the government, has given a proposal to create this infrastructure. But so far as I know, is that the response has not been very encouraging. Not many people have come forward to utilize this proposal of the government. Thank you.
And not many. I mean, if one were talking about the small, the theaters in the smaller towns and smaller cities, what one is not able to see is how far the penetration of the 4G, has resulted in everyone watching their films on the mobile. I mean, the cinema lost a battle once with television, and now it's a battle which is getting lost because your Geo is giving you 4G everywhere in the interiors, and they people are watching things on TV, whether we like to admit it or not is a different thing, you know.
Thank you, Namrata.
If they were good quality theaters, I think there are the one-off time when you really do want to go and see a movie on the big screen. That experience, as we've all spoken about, is really nothing to compare with that. So yes, you will watch your movies on 4G. You will have all your home devices. We will be watching it on our various tablets, on our computers, on our 48-inch television. But yes, the lure of the screen is always going to be there. But I think what you were talking about, I think we need to have some quality control everywhere, whether it's a small town or a big town, it doesn't matter. People want to watch now movies in a good quality films with a good quality theater. I think that is
Thank you.
really very important. And I
Thank
think
you. I think Madhu had to there's something. I will put a question because KL Prasad it's a statement. My comment is Kerala has excellently managed COVID-19. That state knows how to keep people disciplined. If Kerala succeeds in allowing the theatres to screen films with limited audience, maintaining the social distance, and with just 1 or 2 shows a day, then other states may follow. In Kerala, the rural places, there are a lot of theatres in rural places. So Madhu will respond to this in Kerala atmosphere to these small theatres and screens. All theatres in rural places are also digitally good, I think, in Kerala. Please, Madhu.
Before answering this question, let me just comment on what Vidyasankar told about the governmental intervention. Actually, from Kerala experience, I can say that many times the Kerala government, especially the cultural ministry, with the help of Kerala Chalchitra Academy, has intervened the problems or the issues raised from the film industry, and they have tried to solve it, and many of the cases they have succeeded. So that is why I suggested that the government should come up, not in the government rules and regulations, but privately they can discuss. They organize like that. Our area cultural ministries have organized so many meetings like that with the film producers, with the distributors, theater owners, and everything. So they have come out with ample solutions. So that thing can follow. That is what I meant. And regarding this rural theater and theater is theater, whether it is rural or urban. We were talking about the quality of film. So in this COVID condition, I don't think that if you are going to open theaters even in the rural side, so we can't restrict people from the urban places or the cities to not to go to the rural place and watch the films in the rural theater. We can't restrict. So that is a major problem. That is why I told you, theater is a theater, whether it is in the city or in the urban, the rural areas. Of course, rural areas are not affected mostly, but the rural theaters, they are also in a state of closing down. You know what happens? Actually, unless there is a curb, there is a protection in the regarding the COVID issue. It is not advisable to open the theaters as such. So we can do it, as I was telling earlier, we can do it by step. It may take some time. We cannot do it in this month or next month or maybe because there is a rumor, there is a prediction that by August the number may increase to the maximum. So we can't do like that. So there is the rural theaters are there. We can utilize it, but maybe after some time. Because in Kerala, from Kerala experience, I can say that in cities as well as in rural areas, there are many theaters. So the theaters are there. You can't go to open space to screen a film. So for the time being, OTT platforms are the only solution to this problem. And one more thing I just wanted to ask, even though it is not regarding the question, the production has to go on. If the production has to go on, then the production cost has to be minimized. That is one of the major issues in the industry. The production cost has to be minimized. the artist payment has to be
Sound is gone.
Sound has gone. Please, Madhu.
it okay now?
Yeah. Please
Okay.
complete. Please complete.
Yeah. I was talking about reduction in the production cost. So the reduction of the production cost has to be done by means of artist payment, by means of the other production, paraphernalia. So all these things have to be reduced, and by reducing the production cost, they may be able to do the release in the OTT platform. That is another advantage. So likewise, the artist has to reduce their payment. The Producers Association has already asked the artist, our association, AMMA, the Artist Association, to reduce their artist payment. So likewise, if there is cooperation between all departments, the technicians and other people, to reduce their remuneration, then the production cost will be naturally less. And for the time being, we can save at least something through the OTT platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. And now there is another. It seems after the two world wars of the last century, film exhibition is facing such a crisis. Yeah, we agree. Then Sudhir Thandan, the government's so-called knee-jerk approach perhaps stems from the fact that the entertainment industry is under the Ministry of INB and not under the Ministry of Culture. Vidyaji, do you want to respond to that question? This INB and culture.
This is a discussion we are having for a long time. Why cinema? In fact, I put it to the state government also once. Why not bring at least portion of it under culture and portion of it keep it under the industry? The discussion is still going on with the government. Now, as I said, some of the governments, at least in the southern part of the India, they're looking at film as some kind of an independent ministry or independent department, whether that could be done. And of course, even the government of India have recently, as I said, the Julka committee report, they're looking at putting all the film activities together under one platform or one department. That's discussion is going on, but I don't think that is as simple as that. We can't do that. But cinema, at the same time, it's a cultural artifact. It is an artistic expression. It is a business. It is a technology. It is economic activity. Therefore, so many dimensions of the cinema. Therefore, putting it under culture is not practical completely. But the cinema as an artifact or a cinema as a culture, independent expression, some of it could come under culture department as well. These things are, these are under discussion of various governments, as I understand, and I have been also part of some of the discussions with the government in this. It is possible that it will be considered as a cultural artifact also, in addition to what is now being.
Thank you.
Kerala had a minister for film.
Cinema,
yeah. In the
South Indian, this one they are looking at it.
In the earlier ministry.
Yeah.
Even Karnataka is now looking at something.
Then another Daljit Satdeva. We should not forget film Bandhu from UP. Lot of Hindi films are coming from there. It's a statement, I think. Then to bring Nanjundia Shashidhara. To bring back the audience to the cinema house, the exhibition sector has to play an important role in assuring safety by the protocol. Sure, if it is opening, we will do it. Then Giridhar Gurujan, we need to revive the film industry in a sequence. Why can't the apex body take into confidence the Ministry of INB? That is the same question. Then OTT. There is another question. Giridhar Gurujan, is digitization going to kill the romance of film going and we sit at home comfortably and watch at our convenience? It's a nostalgic question. I think.
I think
you want to respond?
But I would say that it's all of us are talking about the romance of the big screen, and we know we are enamored by it, but we also need to save lives at this moment. I think that safety is paramount, and I don't think any of us are. You give me the chance to go to a theater, I will be the first to run out of my house. And it used to be a joke in my house that you're going to just you don't need to come back home. Why do you even bother? Because that's where you live, and that is true. Because so much of our lives, our waking lives, have been spent in dark theaters. All our adult lives, all our working lives, we've spent there. And I'd be the first person. All of us would be the first people to go running. But I think we really have to be much more pragmatic. I think we have to be really, really concerned about our, not just our health, because we could be asymptomatic and we could be infecting people around us, whether there are 3 people you're sitting in between, but there are air conditions, and you know how difficult air conditioning, you could be, releasing any kind of a vapor. It's going to stay in that situation for 72 hours. That virus doesn't go. It's not it's not one of your pet things that you can pat and it will not go. It will hang around. So you have to be extra careful. And I think really right at this moment, we're all praying that it goes away. And if collectively, if prayers had this thing, then it would be gone. But I think we need to be much more, sort of careful. And the romance will never go anywhere.
It won't go, but there is a certain sense of alarm that I also feel, because as a reviewer, as a critic, I watch a film a certain way, but when I interact with people, especially on the social media platform, I mean, watching Scorsese 1 hour in the evening, 1 hour in the night, and then another hour in the morning, this is not film viewing. I think it's going to...
A film experience is different from...
I have to say this, that, when I sit to watch a movie, okay, I try and simulate as much of a movie hall experience as I can. I tell people, do not disturb me from 2 hours, 25 minutes. I'm not available. I sit there, I close my curtains, I switch off the light, and I do not stop the movie. It goes from from start to end, and I'm trying for it to simulate as simulating as it can for a movie hall experience. Of course, it's not going to be that, but I'm definitely not breaking it up into things at all.
No, that's not for us, but I hear the common people, that really makes me shudder.
That is not a movie at all.
Absolutely.
Pieces of digital stuff moving around.
I always call it as film information, not film knowledge or film experience.
And even as a critic, when you are looking at a web series, like, I find it problematic to watch 9 episodes of an hour each, binge watch. There is no time to process. Give me a movie of 2 hours and let me write. Series, I just can't tackle in the rush that people have to file things. So there is a lot of adjustment, so to speak, that we all are doing with watching content on the digital platform. But like Shubhra is saying, this is going to stay for a bit, and may as well kind of flow with the times and think of what is not going to happen in the immediate future. It's going to take its own time.
Thank you. Next thing is film releasing stuck. The all same questions. OTT platform. The costing about OTT platform, I think Vidya Shankar has talk on that. Then Abhiroops and I am talking about the time when we will start movie, not actually now. One of the panelists gave a solution of allowing 250 if there is 500 people capacity. Not that it will be a possibility after slowdown. Nikhila H. What about attempts of different film industry to reorganize and innovate about both production and exhibition? For example, in Karnataka, there is a new attempt called Filmmakers Club. There is a Vidya Shankar. Anything to any such club?
What is the question?
The question is attempts of different film industry to reorganize and innovate about both production and exhibition. For example, in Karnataka, there is a new attempt called Filmmakers Club.
I'm not aware of that particularly.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, where I have received a lot of messages from people asking for OTT issues and other things. They are looking at the exhibition. This is happening. In fact, you won't believe it. Karnataka had last year produced 375 films. 1 year, Kannada films are there. Obviously, not many theaters are there to be released. Therefore, they are looking for different outlets to exhibit films, and they've been behind a lot of this. As I said, I made some research. There are as many as 21 platforms in India for film possibility. And as I said, there is a cash crunch in their business also now. lot of people are looking for content, but they don't have that kind. Like television channels also, they're looking for films, they're looking for content. Some of them are closing down, I think, including Star World and Color Super. They're all are closing down, and therefore there is a need for content. At the same time, they don't have this cash crunch issues there. Therefore, this is a business aspect of entertainment industry. That the difficult one. And of course, there are a lot of people, particularly the people who are not able to. In Karnataka, the other problem is 6 language films are released every week. Therefore, there are theaters which can accommodate 6 language films in one city. Every week, so many films get released there. Therefore, Kannada film industry is finding always difficult to get theaters to exhibit. Therefore, now they have formed these youngsters, particularly who are in the production. I mean, coming to production. Now they're looking at consolidating the organizations and looking at platforms to exhibit their films either through film festivals or through OTT platforms rather than on screens in theaters. It's very expensive also for them to release it in multiplexes or single theaters. They're looking for other avenues. Mostly they usually come to me for film festival connections to send it to other film festivals and that thing. And also for OTT platforms. There are that kind of collectives are developing in Bangalore. I see a lot of people coming to it.
I just need to add just a little something. I don't know. I think all of us feel the same way. Where as far as OTT is concerned, what it has done for me is to be able to access films of languages which are not mine.
Correct.
You know, all of these years, I've had to struggle because I live in Delhi and because our theaters are mostly oriented towards Hindi cinema or Hollywood, either Bollywood, Hollywood. I have actually been a beggar and I've asked people from every state, you know, if it's a good film that you're watching, if you have a subtitle DVD back in the day when there was, now that I live, please send me because people like us, we like to watch movies from other languages, but it has not been possible. It has been a very slow process. And theatre, people who run theatres will tell you their whole thing is about commerce. They're not really interested in, sort of expanding the knowledge base of a viewer. So for me, one of the huge advantages of the OTT platforms has been the ability to be able to watch both classics as well as contemporary movies from around the world, and more than that, I think it's been a real move for me to be able to access films in Kannada and Malayalam, and in Gujarati, in Bengali, things that I've always wanted to watch. They've always been on my list, and slowly I'm going one by one and saying, okay, I watched this. I think that is a really a big boon for us.
True.
Thank you. I have to ask Mr. Manoj, please turn off your YouTube because it's making the problem. Then, and my next question is, the small technicians, junior artists, and the studio workers are the worst sufferers. Yes, we agree that. Then, there is a last question. I think we have time. Chidananda Kakoti, what would be the steps for more intensified film society movement? I think Vidyashankar is a veteran film society activist. He will, because we can start film society screening because there are only small numbers of people.
No, actually, we don't have as much film society activity as happens in Kerala or West Bengal. But my experience in Bangalore is now there are happening. I mean, new film clubs are coming in Bangalore in a very small way. They have now in the India and Bangalore International Center have their own film societies, and there are other film societies. They are actually organizing these film festivals online as well. In fact, last week I had a talk, on one of the film society platforms. Nearly 100 people gathered in that meeting. On the online meeting, we had a discussion on Satyajit Ray for almost 2 hours. For this is happening. Film society, film clubs are there, and most of the time, the Kannada government through their academy, Chalachitra Academy, they in fact have a program called Chitra Mandals in different districts. They have district headquarters have these film clubs. They organize and provide films to them. There are a lot of small groups are coming together to see, as Subra was talking, the watching film is a passion, and what they want to see films together in a group of people, and a lot of even the conglomerates, they have started doing that. And of course, most of the colleges in Bangalore particularly have started film studies as a part of their cultural studies or literary studies. Therefore, these things are happening in terms of educational. These things are happening. But as Namrata was pointing out, there is still a very long gap between the film experience and talk of film studies and film experience. There's a huge gap. Most of them, they know who are the major directors, who are the major. But if you ask them the film experience, it's a very difficult thing. Film societies have now. Incidentally, I want to mention that Suchitra Film Society is in its 50th year now. This year, we are celebrating 50th year of Suchitra Film Society, and because it has its own infrastructure, it is surviving. Because we have our own theater, we have our own regular activities there. Almost every month we have screenings, we have literary discussions, we have theater activities. Therefore, it's actually become a cultural center rather than just a film center. Because we have a physical infrastructure, again provided by the state government to us, we have been able to run this in a longer term. For 50 years, it has been possible. That is not actually possible otherwise. If you don't have your own infrastructure, it is very difficult to run a film society. In Kerala, it is possible. In West Bengal, it has been possible, but not in other places in the country.
Yeah, I should add one more thing. Intensifying film society movement is not possible for the time being, at least, because it's a part of cultural activities. All cultural activities are banned by government, so we can't do anything. But there is another platform. We are, last week or now, FFSI is conducting film festival.
Yeah.
They are organizing film festival every day. You can see, watch a film, watch a good films. Like that. The film societies or the Federation of Film Societies can organize such film festivals, and for the time being, we can. The film societies can cater to the audience through this type of festivals, online festivals.
Yes, I also agree. In Kerala, the government is giving some subsidies to the film societies.
Right.
So it should be an intervention in other states, and the national government also should come. I think there are no more questions in the comment box. All questions. Anybody as to our panelist?
We have overrun our time also already. Yes.
Time and thank you. Thank you for the first. I thank the registered participants for active comments. Some problems was there in the beginning, but it was in YouTube. You can watch, and after this also, it is available in YouTube, and we'll be organizing some other seminars also. So please keep in touch with us. So I thank Mr. Madhura Bankara, Mr. Namrata Joshi, Mr. Shubhra Gupta, Mr. Manoj Pujari, Mr. Vidya Shankar, and Mr. Premendra, Mr. Debayan, and everybody. I thank on behalf of FIPRESCI and on behalf of the registered participants. Thank you. Please keep in touch and please be safe. Please be safe in this pandemic period. We can meet at the next webinar, next episode of webinar.
Thank you, Ramachandran.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.